Shalom, shalom. I'm Commander Judea, also known as Prince Yizzy.
Shalom, I'm Officer Solomon, also known as Solomon the Benjamite.
And we are
One Nation Israelite School.
And just gonna drop a class tonight. Tonight's class is entitled Your Fruits. Your Fruits. And it's true we are to bring forth fruits. You can tell what type of person you are and what road you're going off about what the fruits that you bring forth. Some of y'all gonna be standing at the kingdom, you're gonna see people walking in with bags of fruit and you're gonna still have the seeds in your hands. You dwindling and tangling seeds because you ain't put in no works. You ain't brought forth no fruits. Alright, so once again, we're gonna go ahead and get into it. We're gonna figure out what kind of fruits not to bring forth that we shouldn't be trying to bring forth, meaning what type of fruits we gotta get out, what type of fruits we have to get out of our spirits, and then the fruits that we should be bringing forth. Alright? So with that, no further ado with the intro, let's go ahead and send up these prayers. Thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for all your blessings. Forgive us for all our sins, known and unknown. Give us the strength to overcome the demons that we fight on a day-to-day basis. Father God, we come before you humbly, asking that you send your divine word to us and let your blessings rain upon us. Father God, speak through the prophets. Let the word go out edifying. Touch the reader that he may deliver the reading, that it may edify the body with enthusiasm. And Father God, we ask that through all things, the word go out and it be edifying. For you said your word never go out void. See our works, Father God, let it be counted. Let not our works go into vain. Father God, give us the strength to overcome the things that we fight on a day-to-day basis, that our seeds may grow in righteous soil and bring forth righteous trees where it will bear righteous fruits. And your son, Christ's name, we thank you and we ask that you take down the enemies, Father God. Bring down a burden upon those who make our captivity harder, who make our jobs hell, who make it harder for us to provide. Touch the heart of those who are in the control of those positions and humble them down, that they may let your children who seek you diligently slide through the cracks. and that we may be able to endure in this captivity. Give us the strength, and we pray in your Son Christ's name, and we give you the glory and the honor. Amen.
Amen.
Let's get into it. Let's get to it. So now, today's class is entitled "Your Fruits." So we're gonna start up. We're gonna open up at 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 30. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 30.
2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 30. And thou speakest, saying, Hear me, O Israel, and mark my words, thou seed of Jacob.
It says, thou seed of Jacob. That's us. The seeds of Jacob is the children of Israel, of so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians of Negroid descent. Okay? So it says, thou seed of Jacob. Read on.
For behold, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring fruit in you.
So the Most High said, I sow my laws in you, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring forth fruit in you. So each and every one of us, God has said, I put seeds in you. And those seeds are supposed to bring forth fruits. But what happens in most cases? Brothers take the soil that the seed has been put in. How do we, is that in the end of verse 30?
31?
31?
No.
Read it out.
And ye shall be under in it forever.
So, it says, the Most High said, I put seeds, I put my laws in you. Them seeds, I planted in you. And them seeds were supposed to bring forth fruit. And what happens in most cases, like I was saying, is brothers end up tainting the soil that seed was based in. It was placed in. The seeds that the Most High put in you is inside of you, and the soil is your spirit. And it's supposed to bring forth fruit. But what happens is we taint our spirits. How do we do that? How do we taint our spirits? First off, the conversations. Let's get 1 Corinthians 15 and 33.
1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33. Be not deceived, evil communications corrupt good manners.
So the scripture says, be not deceived. Be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. When it says be not deceived, it says don't fool yourself. Evil communications corrupt good manners. I was guilty of that. I was fooling my own self, saying that, hey, you know what? Music is just music to me. You say, it don't mean that. I was fooling myself, because then I started seeing the change in myself. I started seeing I'm listening to the sexual music, and I started feeling the sexual spirits come all over me.
Yeah, I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? So the scripture's telling us straight up, don't be deceived. The convocations ain't just what we speak to each other. That's movies. That's music. That's conversations can be done in more than just verbal. It's also be physical and visual. All right. So we taint the soil by evil communications. What's another one? The company we keep. Let's go to Proverbs 12 and 26 real quick. This is another way we taint the soil that the seed is planted in.
Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 26. Proverbs chapter 12 and verse 26. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth him. So
the Bible is telling you straightforward. Watch the people you with. Why? Because the righteous, us trying to keep the commandments, we are more excellent than our neighbors. So yes, the Bible said the righteous is better than his neighbor. If you keeping the commandments, you are better than that brother next to you that's breaking the commandments. You are better than him. But if you hanging with him, his wicked ways will seduce you. You will find yourself putting those things in your spirit. Right. You will absorb the wickedness of him, and it'll entertain you, and then you'll find yourself doing it. Now you tainting your spirit. When I say tainting your spirit, think of it like this. If you have a cup of water, right?
Yeah.
It's drinkable at first. Now let's say you take a tea bag. You dip it in there the first time, it ain't gonna really change. You dip it in there again, it ain't gonna change. Eventually, if you keep dipping it, what's going to happen to that water?
It'll start changing colors.
It's going to change colors. And that's the same thing with your spirit. If you put enough foolishness around it, you will eventually taint your spirit. You'll change the way that the spirit is supposed to go. And that's what's going to do what? Taint the soil. That your seeds have been planted in, and your fruits will not grow. Alright? So the company we keep, that's another way of tainting our spirits, tainting our soil. What's another way? Becoming slothful. Becoming slack or slothful. And you know, procrastinate. Being procrastinators. And then what eventually happens with that, we fail to do the work. And fail to multiply our talents and fruits. And how does the Most High feel? How does the Most High and Christ feel about someone who takes talents or fruits that they gave them and do nothing with it? Remember how he said? Well, he said to that one. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. Go to Matthew 25. Start at verse 23. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 25 and verse 23.
Now, because we're not going to read the whole story about what happened, I'm going to just tell you the intro part. The Most High gave one man 5 talents. He gave another man 2 talents. And he gave another one 1 talent. The one with 5 talents, he went out and multiplied it. Came back with what? 10 talents. The other one, he went and used his talents and he multiplied his talents. The brother who had the 1 talent, he did absolutely nothing with it. He came back with the same 1 talent. He didn't multiply it. He didn't basically use his talent or his fruits to produce anything. So this is what happened. Come on.
Matthew chapter 25 and verse 23. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things.
Right, so he said because this is still talking to one of the brothers who actually multiplied their talents, brought forth fruit. He said, okay, you did good. Now I'm gonna make I gave you a few talents, and I gave you a few things, and I'm gonna make you ruler over many things. But let's see what happened for the one who did absolutely nothing.
Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed.
So this brother, he already coming with an excuse. I know you was a hard man, and come on.
And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, therefore thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant.
So that's how you feel about it. You got these seeds that I planted in you, and you didn't bring forth no fruits. Just like I gave every last one of y'all talents for y'all to multiply and bring forth. And whatever your talent is in the truth, you better find it. Because if you're not using your talent, the Most High going to call you what? A wicked and slothful servant. What happens with them? Come on.
Thou knewest that I reaped where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not strawed. Thou ought therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury.
So what happens? Watch this.
Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents.
So they say, you know what? We ain't going to read no more. He said, you know what? Give me that back. Give this to him. Depart from me, ye workers of iniquity. He didn't bring forth any fruit. So that's the same thing with us. You have seeds planted in you that are supposed to bring forth fruits. You have talents that the Most High gave specifically to you. And it's your talent to multiply and do your due diligence in this truth to get your spot into the kingdom. You don't go out there and do your part. Guess what? You become slack, slothful. You say, you wicked, slothful servant. Let me take them talents from you and give it to her. Get out of my face. Destroy them. I'm going to give that talent to her. I'm going to give that talent to him. All right? So now, with that, basically Christ is saying this. So when Christ told him, when Christ took that talent from him and gave it to the other dude and sent him about his way, Christ was basically telling him this. Give me wisdom of Solomon 4 and 5. You have to think about it like this. If you have a household of 5, and you got a vineyard, you got an apple tree, and it only brings you forth 2 apples out of the year. Out of a whole year, you done been watering and planting it, seeding, picking the weeds, and it only give you 2 apples a year. Is that tree worth any good to you? No. The same thing what Christ was telling him. Come on, watch this. Wisdom of Solomon 4:5. So this is what Christ was telling him, and for lack of better words.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 and verse 5. The imperfect branches shall be broken off.
He said, you imperfect branches shall be broken off.
Their fruit unprofitable.
Their fruit are unprofitable.
Not right to eat. Yea, meat for nothing.
Saying basically you good for nothing. The word meat means good. So he's telling them basically you good for nothing. So when he says the imperfect branches, you got to think about it. When you take it to a similitude of the nation of Israel, that's what that tree is. He said, your imperfect branches shall be broken off. You bring forth fruit that are not right to eat. You're good for nothing, for lack of better words. That's what it was saying. You're good for nothing. So Christ was telling us in a similitude, if you're not putting your works in, you're not bringing forth the fruits that the Most High planted the seeds in you to bring forth, you're good for nothing. Therefore, tear you off, take them talents, give it to somebody else, and cast you into the fire. All right? So now, and hold on, I don't want to forget this one case. I don't want to forget this one case. There's another part to how your soil is tainted. Let's go back to Mark. Remember the 4 types of Israelites? Let's go to Mark, and let's get Mark chapter 4, and I believe it's verse 5 about the stony grounds.
Yeah. Mark chapter 4 and verse 5. Mark chapter 4 and verse 5. And some fell on stony ground, where it had not much earth, and immediately it sprung up, because it had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, it was scorched, and because it had no root, it withered away.
So basically, like the similitude of when, let's say, you might throw a seed outside and it land in the little cracks of the concrete. You'll see little buds rise up out the concrete, but then the next day you have a real hot day, and then the sun, you come back out there and the things are either withered away or they scorched dead. It's making a similitude to some men like that. They fell on stony ground. They have no root. Let's jump over to 16 to explain what it's talking about.
Verse 16. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who when they had heard the word, immediately received it with gladness.
So these are they that hear the word and they receive it with gladness. Yes, we Israelites. They receive it with gladness. It excites them to hear this truth, right?
Yeah.
But what happens?
And have no root in themselves.
I mean, they have no root in themselves. That means what? They don't study, or guess what? They happy. It was happy to hear it, but they really don't have faith. So anything could do what? Pull them out. Watch this. Read on.
And so endure but for a time.
So because they have no faith and they don't study, they only endure for a short amount of time. I mean, they come into this truth and it may last about a year or two.
Afterward,
if that long. All right, cool.
Afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake.
So when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, like those who can't separate from family, correction.
Yeah.
They run across a Christian that study, and because they don't study, he eat them alive on the block and embarrass them.
Yeah.
He play tricks and beguile their mind,
right.
And they start to actually believe that jump, so they leave the truth. That's what that's going into, right? For the word's sake, they do what?
Immediately they are offended.
And when they are offended, what do? They separate. They leave the truth. All right. So you got those that you taint their soil by the evil communications they keep around them. You got those who taint their soil by the company they keep around them. You got those who taint their soil from not doing nothing with their talents or the fruit, the seed that bring forth fruit out of the seeds that the Most High gave them. And then you have those that fell on stony ground who are small in faith, don't study, or they just the things that come with this truth they couldn't endure to take it, so they only endure for a season. All right, so they take their soil that way. So now with that being said, watch this. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 9 again. And we're going back to verse, let's start at 31.
2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 31. For behold, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring fruit into you, and ye shall be honored in it forever.
Right, so it's, I put my fruit in you, and it shall bring. I sow my law in you, and it shall bring forth fruit in you, and ye shall be honored in it forever. Verse 32.
Verse 32. But our fathers which received the law kept it not.
So the fruits is the laws. So our fathers, they received these fruits and they kept it not. They received the laws and they kept it not. Come on.
And observe not thy ordinance. And though the fruit of thy law did not perish, neither could it, for it was thine.
So the law didn't perish. The law didn't perish. Why? We know the law abided forever. We're going to get in a second. Watch this. Give me 33 real quick.
33.
So our fathers received the laws and they didn't keep it. But the law didn't perish. We're going to see who perished. Come on.
Verse 33. Yet they that received it perished.
Our fathers, they that received it but didn't keep it, they perished.
Because they kept not the thing that was sown in them.
Because they didn't keep the things that were sown in them, meaning the laws, the fruits that the Most High, the seeds that the Most High put in them to bring forth fruits. They didn't keep the laws, therefore they couldn't bring. If your soil is tainted, the fruits, your seeds don't grow. I'm giving it to you in the similitude of you, your spirit being the soil, your body being the tree, your works are the fruits. All right. So, because they didn't keep it, they perished. They didn't keep the laws, therefore their soil was tainted, and they treated and bring forth the fruits. And guess what happened? They perished behind that. Why did that happen? What does Baruch say? Baruch 4:1. So we're gonna find out why the law didn't perish and why they perished. All right, we're gonna find out why the law didn't perish and why did our fathers who received it and did not keep it perish. What does Baruch 4:1 say?
Baruch chapter 4 and verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endureth forever.
So that's why the law didn't perish, because the law endured forever.
All they that keep it shall come to life.
So if they would have kept the laws, they would have came to life. Their fruits would have blossomed.
But such as leave it shall die.
But them that leave it shall die. Baruch chapter 4 verse 1. So it says, the law endured forever. That's why the law didn't perish. And it says, they that kept it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. That's why our forefathers perished. Them that received it perished, but the law didn't perish. Because the law endured forever, and if you leave the law, guess what? You shall die. All right? So, when you turn, and all in all, from just that little piece, it's letting you know straight up, when you turn from God's laws, God would, in other words, God will give you a reprobate mind. And when you take all of that we went through just now, it'll bring abroad what's. Let me put it another way. Okay, so you take all of what we've been through. You take all of that. All these things that we went to, it'll bring the wrong type of fruit abroad, basically. And y'all understand the word abroad, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you take all these things that we just went through about how you taking your soil, you're not putting your work in, all these other things. And then you turn from the laws of God, God will give you a reprobate mind. And with all of that being a mixture in one, it'll bring forth the wrong fruits. It'll bring forth the wrong fruits. Your spirit is dead, your spirit is dirty, and your seeds are not growing. All right? So now, what's wrong with the kind of fruit? What's the wrong kind of fruit to bear then? What would be the wrong type of fruit to bear? Watch this.
Pick your fruit.
Right. That's obvious, but I mean, when you take all of that we went through, this is the type of fruits that you're going to bring forth. Watch this. Go to Romans. We was in this book last night. Go to Romans chapter 1 and give me verse 28. And we're going down to 32. Don't fly through it, please.
All right.
Romans chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 28.
1 and 28.
Yeah.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 28. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient.
Right. So Most High gave them over to a reprobate mind. You don't want to keep my ways. You don't want to keep my knowledge, my laws. Okay, I tell you what. Bam. Give you a reprobate mind. A reprobate mind, you're going to bring forth the wrong types of fruits, such as verse 29.
Verse 29. Being filled with all unrighteousness.
So it's letting you know off rip. Everything you're going to read is coming as all unrighteousness. And notice the Most High grouped it all together. Y'all all get the same punishment.
Fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit. Yeah. Magnanimity, whispers. Can you read?
I'm sorry. Malignity.
Oh, malignity.
Malignity. I'm going to have to say it with the T hard. Malignity.
Right. Whispers. Can you read?
Yeah.
Backbiters, haters of God, deceitful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
So once again, it goes back and tells you, you know the judgment for these things. Ooh, you sit up in the churches, you sit up in them Sunday churches, they ain't teach you the laws, but you know that, well, I ain't gonna even put it on them. Or us, the Israelites, y'all, you sitting here, you know the judgment for these things. He said, knowing the judgment of these things, you are worthy of which they commit things such are worthy of death. So even though he said you know the judgment, he told you what it is anyways. It's right. Death. Come on.
Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
So not only those who do these things, but those who take pleasure in it. All right. So when you take that into account, Most High grouped all that stuff together. All of you're getting the same reward. All of it is sin. All of it is the wrong type of fruits to bring forth. But those type of spirits, you catch that in brothers whose spirits are tainted. Their soil is no good. Their seeds are not bearing the fruits that the Most High put in them. Therefore, they bring forth wicked fruit. They bring forth these kind of spirits. All right? So now, that's deep. That's deep when you read all these things that come with tainted spirits. It's deep. Why? Because most of those people will be in sheep's clothing. They will be those false prophets. They will be those false prophets. But once again, how do we know them? Now, we just read the type of spirits they're going to have on them. How we know them? Matthew 7 and 20.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 20. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 20. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them.
By their fruits ye shall know them. By their works, by their actions, by their communication. By the fruits you will know the tree. By the fruit you will know the tree. Let's prove that real quick. We could jump up, but I want to go somewhere else. So go to Matthew 12 and 33.
Shoot. Matthew chapter 12 and verse 33. Either make the tree good and its fruit good.
So either make the tree good and its fruits good, or what?
Or else make the tree corrupt and his fruit corrupt. For the tree is known by his fruit.
So this tree is talking about a person. This tree is known by its fruit. If you get somebody bringing all the spirits, showing you signs of they doing some of the things listed in Romans 1 and 28, that whole tree is no good. The scriptures say that a good tree can't bring forth evil fruit. Neither can an evil tree bring forth good fruit. All right. So that's why the Most High said, look, stop playing with it. Make the tree either good and its fruits good, or the tree corrupt and its fruits corrupt. For the tree is known by its fruit. You know what I'm saying? You got some people, they try to, oh, well, he all right, you know, he either good or he bad. One or the other, straight up. And you got to look at yourself like that. Dang, am I a good tree or am I wicked? Damn, I need to do something clean. I need to pull some weed about my soil.
All right.
All right. So now, with that, what fruit should we be bringing forth? Real quick, let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 31. I know how I am. I pinpoint a verse and like it and keep going back to it to set up everything.
You said 31?
2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 31.
2nd Ezra chapter 9 and verse 31. For behold, I sow my law in you, and it shall bring fruit in you, and ye shall be honored in it forever.
So it says, I will bring sow my laws in you, and it shall bring forth fruit in you, and you shall be honored in it forever. Why? Because you got to understand. Now, we looking at the positive side of it, in a way. We're going to you kind of flipping it to the positive side now. So it says, it shall bring forth, it shall bring honor, what's it?
Yeah.
And ye shall be honored in it forever. Why would it be honored? Well, let's say you got these, let's say the fruits that the Most High put in you, the seeds that he put in you. Let's say you got your soil in check now, your spirit's in check. Now you're bringing forth fruit. Remember, the fruits is your words. Now you're bringing forth fruits. Now, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 15.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and verse 15. For glorious is the fruit of good labors.
So glorious is the fruit of good labor. So that's how you honor it. It's glorious to see a man bring forth good fruit.
And the root of wisdom shall never fall away.
And the root of wisdom shall never fall away. So now, what's the fruit to bring forth? What's the fruit to bring forth? What's the fruit that we're supposed to bring forth? Let's deal with it like this. What's the fruit of the Spirit? We're going to deal with the fruits of the Spirit. This is your foundation. This is where it starts. Let's go to Galatians chapter 5 and start at 22.
Oh, man, got serious.
Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22.
Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22.
So these are the fruits of the Spirit. And you want to know if you need to have these things sown in you. Most High is put seeds in us to bring forth fruit. These are the fruits that are supposed to dwell within you. And within these, you bring forth your talents and your works. All right?
Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law.
All right, so it says, but the fruit of the spirits is love. So let's deal with love real quick. Love. Let's go to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3.
1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
So one, we keep his commandments, and the commandments not grievous to us. It's not hard to us. We're not upset that we have to keep the Sabbath. We're not upset that we have to separate from wicked family. We're not upset that we no longer eat the foods that we grew up in the world and we was taught to eat, but now we found out it is wrong to do so. You know what I'm saying? The law shall not be grievous. It should not be burdensome. It should not be something that makes you upset, mad, frown your face up,
Right.
Things of that nature, right? So now, if we love God, we keep his commandments, and they are not grievous. So now, jump up to verse 2.
Verse 2. By this we know that we love the children of God.
Okay, so by this we know that we love the children of God. Who's the children of God? Us, the Israelites. So by this we know that we love the children of God. Come on.
When we love God and keep his commandments.
When we love God and keep his commandments. What that's going into, because we know verse 3 just said basically the same thing about it. If you love me, keep my commandments, and they're not grievous. So it said this is how we know we love the children of God. If we deal with each other by the commandments that the Most High God set for us. We should deal with each other according to God's laws and commandments. How did God command us to deal with each other? How are we to feel about each other? Let's go to Matthew 22, verse 39.
Matthew chapter 22 and verse 39. And the second is like unto thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So, man came and asked Christ, what is the greatest two commandments? He said the first one is to fear God with all thy heart.
Right.
And love God. And then the second is to love thy neighbor as they love thyself. Now, what law was Christ quoting? We're going to get that because, you know, Sunday church teach that the laws are done away with. Christ came and did his own thing. Well, the love thy neighbor as you love thyself was a law that he quoted out of Leviticus, out of Moses. That's why he said, I came not to destroy the prophets, the law or the prophets.
Right.
All right. So now, let's get Leviticus, what is that, 19:18?
Yep. Leviticus. I'm going to start at 17.
No, just give me 18.
Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people.
Against the children of thy people. That's talking about the children of Israel.
But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
But we shall do what?
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
So Christ was quoting the Old Testament. Now, what you have to understand is, how do we fulfill this? How do we fulfill loving our neighbor as we love ourselves? I give it to you very simple. It's easy. This is the easiest way to do it. Give me Matthew 7 and 12.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12. Matthew chapter 7 and verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that man would do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets.
So the scripture said, therefore, all things and whatsoever do ye, basically, for lack of better words, do unto all men as you would have them do unto you.
Right.
Do unto all men as you would have them do unto you. And that's how you will fulfill the law of love. Matthew 7 and 12.
Yeah.
So if you want to fulfill that law about love thy neighbor as you love thyself, do unto all men as if you would do unto all men as you would have them do unto you. That's the easiest way to do it. I don't want you to. If I was married, saying that I'm single, if I was married, I wouldn't want you to sleep with my wife. So guess what? I'm not gonna sleep with your wife.
Right.
I wouldn't want you to kill me, so I'm not gonna kill you.
Right.
I wouldn't want you to kill my brother, so I'm not gonna kill your brother.
Right.
I wouldn't want you to steal from me, so I wouldn't steal from you. If you always take it into that type of mindset, you will always love your neighbor as you love yourself. Right. Do unto them as you would have them do unto you. All right. Okay. So the second one, and the fruit of the spirit, Galatians 5 and 22, it said joy. For the fruit of the spirit is love, joy. Let's deal with joy. Let's go back to 1 John chapter 5, verse 3.
1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. 1 John chapter 5 and verse 3. So, you want me to read 3?
Yeah, just 3.
All right. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
So the commandments should not be grievous. What's the opposite of something being grievous to you? It's being a joy to you.
Right.
When we think about the commandments that the Most High God gave to us, we're supposed to see it as if the burden is light. You know what I'm saying? The burden is supposed to be light. That's a fact. Let's get that real quick. Matthew's, I believe it's 11 and 30. Matthew chapter 11, verse 30.
Matthew chapter 11 and verse 30. Matthew chapter 11 and verse 30. For my yoke is easy.
So the Most High said his yoke is easy. So if something is easy, it ain't grievous.
Right.
It said the yoke is easy, come on.
And my burden is light.
And the burden is light. So we're dealing with joy here. The second fruit of the Spirit. It says, have joy. Joy. So, number one, the commandment should be grievous. It shall feel like the burden is light. Now, watch this. Romans 12:1. This is why you shouldn't have an attitude. Romans 12:1. This is still dealing with having joy. Romans 12:1. The burden is light. The yoke is easy.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
That's why you should have joy in this, because that's your reasonable service. That's saying, when it says reasonable service, it's saying that's the least you can do. Considering Christ died for you and never committed any sin. You were still in the midst of sin and he died for you.
Right.
You should have joy to keep the commandments then. Why? Because that's a light burden compared to what Christ had to go through. Seeing he wasn't the one that even sinned. Alright? So now, Deuteronomy 28 verse 47. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 47.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness.
Hold on. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God, but what?
With joyfulness.
Come on.
And with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
So for the abundance of all things, since we didn't serve the Most High God with gladness and joyfulness of heart, what happened?
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies.
So he said, you don't want to serve me and be proud to do it and have joy doing it? Okay. Serve your enemies then. All right? So now, we go back to Galatians 5 and 22. So the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. Peace. Let's deal with the peace now. We're going to go to Romans chapter 12 and verse 18.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 18.
So the third fruit that we read in the fruits of the Spirit is peace. Let's deal with peace. We're going to Romans chapter 12 and verse 18.
If it be possible, as much as life in you, live peaceably with all men.
So the Most High God said, as much as it lies within you, if it be possible, be at peace with all men. Now the Most High obviously know that it's going to be some people that they just going to push it till they get that ass whooping. That's why he said if it be possible, be at peace with all men.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? And yes, that includes, right now we're in this captivity. We're in this captivity. Try to be at peace with all men. No, we ain't buddies and we ain't friends. Don't make covenants with the white man and all that other stuff. The Bible ain't talking about that. But keep your nose clean. Be at peace. Don't go out and get yourself in the midst of stuff that ain't necessary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like you said, if it be possible. So you know at some point, hey, it's gonna pop off. Some people might get it cracked and get in check. Slashing gas and ice all over that head. And they don't even see it coming. Razor blades and lemon juice. Alright? So now let's go to let's say if it be possible, be at peace with all men. Watch this. Give me 1 Peter 3 and 10. Still dealing with peace real quick.
1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they seek no guile.
That they speak no guile, right? Watch this. Verse 11.
Let him eschew evil and do good. Let him seek peace and ensure it.
Ensue it. So we're supposed to be seeking peace. Give me verse 12 to end that.
Verse 12. For the eyes of the Lord are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of the Lord is against them that do evil. So
if we want the Lord to hear our prayers, guess what? One of the big pieces is what? Seek peace.
That would be the counterpiece to that. Not hearing the prayers of the unrighteous.
Right. Right. We're going to seek peace. Now watch this. Let's go to Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. We're still dealing with peace. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.
Hold on. You want to be called? We are Israelites, right? We are supposed to be children of God, right? The Israelites, right? So it says, if you want to be called the children of God, you need to be a what?
Peacemaker.
Be a peacemaker. He said, they that make peace shall be called the children of God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. All right, so that's what we try to do. We try to make peace. But like I told you, that's why the Bible said, if it be possible, be at peace with all men. If it be possible, be at peace with all men.
Right.
That if it be possible is because, like I told you, some people are going to keep barking until they get that ass whipping. Alright, so, but as much as it lies in you, be at peace with all men. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God.
Right.
Alright, so now, when we go back to Galatians chapter 5, verse 22, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering. Long-suffering means to be patient.
Right.
Patient. Long-suffering, you have to be patient. Just like the Most High is patient with us. He long-suffering with us.
Oh, yeah.
He's giving us chance after chance after chance.
Dang right.
Right. Now, watch this. Let's go to 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 9.
2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 9. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 9. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise.
So don't get it twisted. The Lord ain't slack concerning his promise. Come on.
As some men count slackness, but it's long suffering to.
It's long suffering. I mean, he being patient. He being merciful.
Long suffering towards word, not willing that all should perish.
So basically, it's telling you, most I don't want to kill all of us. That's why he being long suffering. I don't want to kill all of y'all. I really don't want to kill you. That's why I'm being long suffering. But what is he doing?
But that all should come to repentance.
So he's telling you, I'm giving you a chance to come into repentance. That's the reason I ain't sent Christ back yet. That's the reason I ain't sent my son back yet. Because I'm long suffering. I'm trying to be patient with y'all and give y'all a chance to repent. But when he come back, if you ain't got it together, much as he said, I want to kill you. I hate all workers of iniquity. But he said, my right hand shall not spare a sinner. He let you know. You ain't got it together by the time I come back. After all this time I done gave you to get it together, I was long suffering. Off with your head. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity.
Right.
Alright? So now, watch this. Ephesians 4 and 2 real quick. Let's go to Ephesians 4 and 2. So Christ is long suffering with us, so how should we be?
Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 2. With all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love.
Come on.
3. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
Right. So that's what we are to do. We ought to be long suffering with each other. We ought to be patient with each other. We trying to keep, why? Because the mission is to try to keep the unity of the bond in peace, keep the body together as one. We don't want our brothers to fall out.
Right.
So guess what? We don't want to have to put you out. So in that we try to be long suffering. We try to give you a chance to do what? Come back into repentance, just like the Most High doing for us. Now, the Most High also gives you a time limit. You know what I'm saying? He told us not to be fools. You brothers don't want to get it together. Hey, get rid of them.
Got to know which one's playing and which one's not.
Right, because he says better to cast one member, cut off that one member than to let the whole body get cast into the fire.
Right.
All right. So we ought to be long suffering. Galatians chapter 5 verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. Let's touch faith. Faith. All right? So let's do it like this. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1.
Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
So faith is what we believe that we believe in things that are not seen. We have faith that this Bible is true. Now we see the prophecies unfolding in our eyes, but before we understood it, we believed that this Bible was true. We believe that Christ died on the cross and raised. We believe Christ died and rose from the grave on the third day. That he shall redeem us unto his Father, right? So now let's do this. Jump down to verse 6.
Verse 6. But without faith it is but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
What is this saying? What is this saying? Easiest way to explain it. What is this saying is to get another scripture. We're going to have to go to James. James chapter 2 and verse 26.
James chapter 2 and verse 26.
So it's hard to please some. Let me read 6 again in Hebrews. It says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. So if you don't got faith, it's impossible to please the Most High or Christ. Why? Because you don't believe. You don't believe that the gospel is true. It says, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is. You have to believe that what? Christ is the Son of God. And that he is a rewarder of them that seek, that diligently seek him. Well, you're not going to diligently seek Christ. Seek the Most High if you don't believe Christ. You don't believe in Christ. Right. You got some people that believe in, they say they believe in God, but they don't believe in Christ.
That don't make sense.
All right, so what is this saying is, go to James real quick. James chapter 2, verse 26.
James chapter 2 and verse 26. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also.
So why is it impossible to please him if you don't believe, if you don't have the faith? Because faith without works is dead. You can't diligently seek. By having faith is not just saying, "Oh, I believe."
Right.
Faith means you got to put some work into this thing.
Right.
Like us, we believe that if we have faith that if we keep the commandments, Christ is coming back to redeem us.
Right.
That's the faith. We believe that if we keep the commandments, Christ is coming back to redeem us.
Sound like it just killed that Christianity junk. All you need is to have faith. No, it sounds like you can't have one without the other.
Right. Faith without works is dead, just like a body without a spirit.
Right.
All right. So watch this. Now, just how deep is faith? A little bit of faith can move a mountain.
Right.
A little bit of faith, a little bit of belief can move a mountain. Let's get that real quick, and then we'll. I won't break down the rest of the stuff. We'll go ahead and do what we do. Let's get Matthew 17 and 20. One more thing on faith.
Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20. Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20. And Jesus said unto them, because of your unbelief, for verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place. And it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you.
Right. So a little bit of faith. Faith of a mustard seed could move a mountain. And nothing shall be impossible to you. Just that little bit of faith. We keep we have that faith that we keep the commandments of the Most High God. Christ is coming back to redeem us. All right. So now let's go back to Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. Read 22 and 23.
All right. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love.
Love. Keeping the commandments.
Joy.
Joy in keeping the commandments. And the commandments not grievous to you. The burden is light.
Peace.
Seeking peace. Making peace. Being at peace with all men.
Long suffering.
Patience.
Gentleness.
Kindness.
Goodness.
Commandments.
Faith.
Faith is belief.
Meekness.
Belief in works.
Meekness.
What was meekness again, brother?
Meekness is to be humble.
Bingo.
Temperance.
Not a hothead. Not quick to get mad and beat your brothers up, cuss your brothers out. You gotta control that spirit. The Bible say the rage of anger resteth on the rage resteth on a fool.
Right.
The bosom of a fool.
Well, he told you a soft answer can turn away wrath.
All right. So it says when it says temperance, you gotta have a good. You gotta work on your temper. I know a lot of us in the nation of Israel, we got some bad tempers. You gotta work on that thing. And the Most High say, rage resteth on the bosom of fools.
Man.
And I know me. I came a long way. I'm still working.
Yeah, I got to work on it too, because I can't hit the street in a fruit cup. That's all I'm saying. Against such there is no law.
Against such there's no law. Why? Because all these fruits are the fruits of the spirit. So if you are if you bearing all these fruits, there's no law to condemn you. In other words,
right.
Against such there's no law. Why? Because he can't be condemned. He's blameless. All right. So with that, I hope the class was edifying. Let's get Matthew's 26.
Matthew chapter 26 and verse 6. Now when Jesus was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath brought the good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there also this that this woman hath done be told for memorial of her.
So we are commanded by the Father in Christ himself, wherever we teach this gospel at, to mention what the sister did for Christ, preparing him for his burial. Showing that you sisters are important to the truth too. Y'all are more than fringe makers, y'all are more than bed witches, fringe makers, and bread bakers. Alright? So with that, I pray this class was edifying.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to say shalom to y'all.
Shalom, shalom.
Stay in the spirit. For those who didn't catch this class from the beginning, go back and check it out. It's a class that you want to see from the beginning.
It's a good class.
Alright? So with that, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
We gon' play with you. We the prophets of the Most High. We out in these streets with these scriptures. We preach and teach. Repent and die. I ain't giving up to nobody. Not my mother, not my father, not even my wife. Bible told me be strong in the Lord. Not a handful. Accountable. Killing that's right. I ain't never been weak. No, not my type. Got hormones. Bible still my fight. Got my own issues. Lord, make the way right. But I swear myself happy, so funny. This is my constant. I got to do right. Go to the end. The price is my life. Do all I can do and do all for Christ. He gave me my land and my life will shine bright in the middle of the night. If you on the heat, cool. Yo, boy, Esau, he gon' get this too. All I know soon, Isaiah 14 on his tomb, but we out here for you. The